I'll try not to.
Oh, welcome to Talk It Up Tuesday. Right along with our writing the book and helping you guys know what to do, what not to do on this journey as I'm writing my own book. Talk It Up Tuesday a couple times a month. We're going to have authors on who are going to talk a little bit about what they wrote and how they would do things differently. Today, we have a really unique perspective. This is Kris Johnson, and Kris is not only an award-winning children's book author, also an award-winning screenwriter, but she is a writing coach for nonfiction authors. And so we're going to get like a little bit more perspective today because she actually sees the mistakes that nonfiction authors are making along the way, as well as she's going to share a little bit about her own mistakes as a fiction author. And before we dive into her fiction, I will tell you, I started out as a fiction writer, and writing or building a platform as a fiction author is infinitely, exponentially harder than it is for a nonfiction. So we're going to learn a few things today. So welcome, Kris.
Well, thank you, Juliet. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all.
So let's talk about first your fiction book. You had a fiction book you released in 2010, 2011?
Yes. It was called The 11th Sense, and the title is actually one of the mistakes that I made because the title only meant something to me, The 11th Sense, when I should have titled it for my audience, which were, 4th and 5th grade, that kind of tween years age group of kids. And it's a fun story. It's very funny, but my title doesn't reflect that. So I would definitely spend a lot more time figuring that out. And now I'm working on a series for a little bit younger kids, like 2nd and 3rd grade. And I'm titling the series Lily Star Monster Hunter. And then each book will have its own title depending on what the story is. So that will be much more grabby and attention getting for the kids. And the second thing that goes into the title is the cover design. I think I would have done both print and Kindle at the same time, but two formats instead of just print. But at the time, there was a lot of complications with developing the different covers, one for Kindle and one for print, and I got overwhelmed because that's not my area. So, and I didn't have any resources like I do now. So so I'm doing it all differently now with my second series.
And I just want to add here, because my first books came out in 2008 to I think 2011 or 12. You guys wouldn't even believe how much Amazon and technology has changed. It was really, really hard to get published back then because self-publishers were charging an enormous amount of money for nothing. And if you went about it on your own, a lot of times you couldn't get it was hard to get the right technology to get it done right. I remember almost everybody who uploaded a cover back then got rejected.
Yes.
Because people didn't understand the specifics of sure I can talk of the the cover design, how you have to have that spine and everything has to be perfect. So things have changed a lot. Now uploading to Kindle is a simple JPEG versus before it was a lot more complicated.
It was a lot more complicated. Yeah. And for a lot of writers like me are not techie minded. We have creative minds that work in a different way, and we hit that tech wall and we go, I don't understand what's going on here. And it'll just shut you down, emotionally. It'll shut you down, your whole forward movement and getting your book out there. And so I'm very grateful that I have you and more resources now to help me get through those sticky points.
Good. Yes. You mentioned to me before we got on too, there were some other things that you would do differently now too.
Yes. Well, the biggest thing that I would do differently is I was one of those people that was like, oh, you just post your book and on Amazon and it'll sell. And I sold fewer than 500 copies. And mostly it was to people that knew me, because my family spread the word, my friends spread the word, but it didn't have enough momentum to to get that point where it starts to sink into the awareness of the public, you know. And I mean, I did everything. I went to classrooms and with teachers that I knew, and they did book readings. I'd give them a copy and they'd read it to the kids, and then the kids would, you know, expect me to give them a free copy instead of, you know, I'd say, go on, Emma. But it just, nothing, that stuff just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
the order form, send an order home to their parents.
Yes. And right when they're excited about it too. And stuff like that. So there's lots of things. And I had no idea that you could build your platform and get the awareness out there way before the book ever comes out. And in fact, that is a much more effective way. Then you've got an audience that's waiting for your book. And then, you know, you deliver and they get excited. And the thing about children's books too, that's unique, is that you not only have to market to the kids, you have to market to the parents.
Right.
You have to make the parents understand that the book is appropriate for their kids, that it may be scary, but it's not like you would scare a, you know, teenager or an adult. And the hero has to be so well drawn that the kids just want to be that character. You know, they put themselves in that place. So yeah, nonfiction's a lot easier.
It's much easier. I actually didn't get any traction on my fiction book. My first one didn't get much traction at all. My second one got a little bit more, but my third one actually, and this was back before Amazon, like you could cheat to get on the Amazon bestseller list. Back when this was published, you couldn't cheat. They didn't have like micro bestseller lists. I actually didn't gain traction until I ended up on the mystery bestseller list. I was like number 38 between Janet Ivanovich and Sue Grafton. And I wish I'd known how to talk about tech. I wish I'd known how to take a screenshot back then. But that was really the impetus, was getting like landing right there. And I sold just tons of books immediately. Yes. But again, like most people, it didn't last. So, you know, you always have to have those strategies to keep it going as well. So let's move into the nonfiction, because you are in a really unique place. And that's why we work so closely together a lot of times, where you see where the people come in and they write their books because they want more business. But then there's that whole catch-22 where they haven't been building their platform. They kind of wrote the book because, oh, it's a business card, but they don't understand it's not. It can open doors, but it doesn't open as many doors as it would if you build your platform.
Exactly.
So what do you see around that?
I think the biggest thing that I see, the biggest mistake that everybody makes, is that they want to put every single thing they know into one book. And it's very tempting to do that. The problem is that the world has changed so much, people won't read big fat books anymore, unless, that said, they'll read a big fat fiction book when they're on vacation and they're laying on a beach. But that's a story. But for nonfiction, they won't wade through a bunch of information to get to the one or two pieces that they actually want. Mm-hmm. So it works so much better, excuse me, for nonfiction authors to focus and say, okay, let's just make a simple list of all the topics I want to discuss in my book. La, 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 la. And then when you go deep into, say you start the first section, and let's say you're a chiropractor and you want to write about how you can help with migraines and other kinds of headaches that are different from migraines, and low back pain and sciatica and foot pain, and the list goes on. Well, if that chiropractor writes that book is going to be 500, 600, 700 pages, and it's probably going to be pretty technical because they're trying to dump everything they know. Mm-hmm. But instead, what works is to pick one. So say they pick migraines. We're going to focus that whole book just on migraines. And the other extremely important thing is that it's not about what the author knows. It's about the author/entrepreneur communicating with the audience how they can actually help themselves get better.
Right.
It's all about your audience. Everybody says this, it's all about their transformation, but their transformation is not from nothing to everything. Their transformation is from here to here, because people don't learn that way. People don't learn in massive steps. That's why kids start in kindergarten and gradually work up. They don't, people just don't learn that way. So yeah, those are the two biggest things. And then back to title again. With nonfiction, it's a little less pressure than with fiction, because fiction, there's so many things that have to go into a fiction title. But with nonfiction, you pretty much want to be direct. You want to say, this is, basically you want to make a promise. How you can get rid of migraines, in our example, or how you can build your platform and sell more books, or for you, or something really simple and direct that grabs the attention of the audience and goes, oh, I need to know that. And they pick up your book.
Mm-hmm.
And the huge advantage is that then you can go, well, if I break this list into books instead of chapters, then I end up with 10 nonfiction titles after my name on Amazon instead of just one, and people can self-determine the subject that they need.
Right.
But you're still reaching them on their pain points, because there's always many, many pain points in an audience. Yeah.
That definitely is. And I noticed one thing I noticed with healers a lot is they kind of their story out there too. And like, 3 or 4 pages in, you're like, oh my God, I can't even read the next. There's too much drama. There's too much sorrow. There's too much. So, there's a lot of things with that you really have to be careful with.
Yes. That's where a good editor comes in handy.
Yes. Well, thank you. This was fantastic. We appreciate you coming on. You actually, most of the time we don't have something to share at the end, but you have a group on Facebook for those who are writing a book, correct?
Yes. Any writers. I have a pretty nice mix of people who are fiction writers, nonfiction writers, and screenwriters. And we try to give lots of support and encouragement, and people need feedback, or they have a question, or they just want to vent, or they want to celebrate a success. It's the name of the group is Crush Your Expert Book. And come on in, click join, and there's a couple of questions, real easy to just kind of let me know who you are. And then, we've been having a lot of fun on that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet.